out there, obviously a position that hasn't had a lot of change. He's dependable. He's smart. He's worked with some different guys next to him, but have a lot of confidence in him. Glad we got him.
And Brian, what are those football qualities? You said smart. What else, maybe physically and such, does he bring to the table? Technically, all that.
Well, the first three things for linemen are smart, tough, and dependable. He's a good communicator. He's got length at the tackle position. He's got good strength and power. He was a Pro Bowler a few years back. He's done a good job for us. Works well with the other guys. Good communicator. Those are things that are important to us for our offensive linemen.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, it's John Scott.
Hey, John.
The running game, I know in times when we've talked about it the day after, you've mentioned game script is a part of it here, but how would you evaluate where it is now 10 weeks in going into the bye?
Yeah, we need to do a better job. It starts with me, and we got to do a good job of designing things for those guys that they can go out there and execute at a high level. And then we need to make sure we're getting hat for hats at the line of scrimmage and making the proper reads and blocking the guys on the perimeter. It takes all of us to get that job done. We're not where we need to be in regards to the running game. We acknowledge that, and we look forward to working on it, particularly in this bye week, and getting ready for the Chargers here in a couple weeks.
How much is it a product of like rhythm? We know, you want to get Josh going early on, and it's been more of a pass dominated. It's not dominated, but you know what I'm saying? There's
sure.
You pass the ball more.
Yeah.
Is there something similar to that in regards to trying to get the running game going? Because the opportunities have just been far more limited than even what we saw in New England when the running game was effective.
Yeah, I think you do one more and you do one less. That's probably the case. Obviously, we'd like to be efficient at both of them, and that's not an excuse. We need to be efficient at both of them, and something that we have to take a look at, particularly this week as a staff, and work hard to correct the things that we know we can correct. Confidence in the guys. Again, what we think we need to do for each week, that can change by who we play, and saw that a couple weeks ago, and obviously we didn't do a good enough job of it yesterday.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, Thad Brown. Sean was just
Hey,
talking about. Hey, Brian. Sean was just talking about the decision to keep Mitch Morse out of the game yesterday. Can you talk about what you've seen from John Feliciano, Ike Butker, and Brian Winters that kind of led you to believe that you could go with those three instead of Mitch?
Yeah, they've had, it was early in the game there at New England where we kind of got to that rotation. They played a couple games together, and that's the direction that we decided to go with last game. Again, that doesn't mean anything for next week or the week after that. Just have some continuity going with those guys. They've done a good job in there together, and we'll see where we go from that.
I know it's been a struggle this year with all the different guys in and out of the lineup. How frustrating, though, or maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, but how difficult is it that we're in week 10 of the season and you're still kind of fluxing with healthy guys in and out of this offensive line lineup?
Yeah, I mean, that's the hand you're dealt with some of this stuff during this year. And obviously we would love to have continuity with the guys that we have, but we have confidence in whoever's out there. And we'll work hard at it to get it right. Those guys and appreciate those guys that work their tails off, and we'll get it right.
How important is it that you figure out who the five is, at least, last 6 games of the season going into a playoff run?
Well, they all got to be ready to go. As you've seen in a couple of those games where 3 guys had to play for certain guys that went down, the guys that we have out there active in the game, they all got to be ready to go and know their assignments. We mix and match them during the week because you never know when you're going to have to use a particular guy at a particular position. So, again, the 5 that we go with, but it's really the 8 guys that are out there that really all have to be on pace with what we're doing.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian. Josh Reed here.
Hey, Josh.
What's Tyler Bass?
You're down, Josh. Your volume.
Oh, my volume is? You got me now? Is that any better?
It's low. I can hear you barely, but go ahead.
Sorry about that. Hey,
that's okay.
Tyler Bass. how have you seen him develop, and what kind of weapon is he when you're able to stick him out there for 55-yard, 58-yard field goals?
Yeah. Bass is a good young kid, man. He's competitive. He's got good personality. He's good to have him. He's got a strong leg, and he's been putting them through. And obviously, we'd like him to be extra points. But I appreciate him, and he's a good. He's a kicker out there. He's fun to mess with though, because he's got a really good personality. He's competitive. Glad we have him.
After the game, asked Cole Beasley about him, and he said that he likes him because he just kicks the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he said. Is that kind of what you're talking about, the personality of Tyler Bass?
Yeah, because I'll ask him, where's his line at and where we need to get to if we're in a third long situation and it's not a high probability of converting. And he's he's a pretty confident young man, which you like out of those positions.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Hi, Coach. Dante Lasting, Bills.com.
Hey, how are you, buddy?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Cole Beasley seems to have a number of great catches every single week. What has he brought to this football team over the past 2 seasons?
A lot. He's competitive. He's smart. Gets open. Great teammate. He sees the game as, when you ask him a question on what's happening, he's right on with it. You usually, guys that give you information throughout the game that you can trust, it really helps you. He's been a tremendous asset to our offense, to me. I know to the receiving room. He's a heck of a player.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, Coach. George Radney, Challenger Community News.
Hey,
how
George.
you doing this afternoon?
Okay, how you doing?
Pretty good for a dreary Monday, but hey, that's a whole nother story. But yesterday, when the Cardinals defensive, 2 of their linemen went out, their defensive linemen, was there any consideration to going no huddle to possibly wear the reserve, since they had a lot of substitutes coming into play, to wear them down in that second half?
Yeah, we did that to start the second half, George. We got into a no huddle rhythm, a fair amount of empty. And the thing about no huddle is it's really good when you're just taking it could be short, long, mix and runs. When you get those incompletions or you go backwards, that's where it kind of stalls a little bit. But yeah, we did some of that yesterday.
Yeah, and the last question for you. I was listening to Aaron Rodgers a week or so ago make comments about he wished the Green Bay Packers would have kept Jake Kummerow, and he mentioned that now he's over there with the Bills, and I had to look it up, and he sure is on the Buffalo. And I said, how's it looking with him? Is there a chance that he may be getting on the field pretty soon? Because it sounded like Aaron Rodgers said he was one of the guys he really depended on.
Yeah, I mean, he's been up for some special team stuff, and he's doing a good job of picking our stuff up, learning it, getting acclimated to the quarterbacks. Good young player. We'll see.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck
Thank you,
in
George.
2 weeks.
Appreciate you.
Brian, John Worrell, AP, how you doing?
Hey, John.
I know a lot's been said about Stephon Diggs, but when you look at that catch that he made in the end zone that really could have sealed that win, I mean, have you seen an instant chemistry like this 10 weeks into the season develop between a quarterback and a receiver? And what does it say about the chemistry between the two and what Stephon has brought here?
Well, much like I talked about with Cole, he's just a dependable player who has really good instincts, but he works extremely hard in practice, and that's the timing and the execution that you need between a quarterback and a receiver. You can go out there and talk and play video games all you want, but you need to do it on a practice field. And he works at it. He works at it one-on-ones, an individual. And if it's not exactly right with him and Josh, he does it again. He's a very good leader for us. He's smart. We try to use him in a lot of different roles and move him to different spots. He made a number of good plays for us yesterday.
I mean, was that a play that you can practice even?
Oh yeah, the last play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To slide-
we
just to
practiced.
slide that way?
It was actually a play that we put in just for that week. We hadn't put it in all year. We practiced it. We threw it over to the right side in practice. I think it was on Thursday. We hit it in the right corner. Not the exact same coverage, a little bit of a different coverage, but yeah, and that's what it takes is go out there and practice it. If it feels good and looks good, and we're going to try to call it. It was just a time we thought we had an opportunity to call it, and he's a heck of a player. He's a good teammate. He's again, like Bees, he sees the game really well. He's just an instinctive player, tough, competitive. Glad we have him.
And just the last thing on Diggs, and the last thing from me is that there were preconceptions. Even Stephon Diggs has acknowledged that he learned a lot from some of the situations he was involved in Minnesota, and that he's become. We hear him being a team first guy, and when we hear him saying shout out to Cole Beasley, he's always open. What do you make of the selflessness that Stephon Diggs has brought with him? That may go against what some of the knocks that were against him in Minnesota. Not that you were aware of them, but there were those preconceptions, and he acknowledged them.
Yeah, I think those are just what they are. I go by what I see, and what I've seen is a great teammate, a great leader, a very dependable player for our football team. A great person. I mean, he's we're very fortunate to have him, and I know how much we all appreciate him. I certainly do. He's a grinder. He just he wants to get better and better and better. I think he knows that we got a lot of work to do, and he picks everybody up. He's a really good leader for us, John.
Thanks, Brian. Hope you get some time to enjoy the week.
Thanks.
Hey, Brian, Kevin Sylvester, Channel 2.
Hey, Kevin.
On that play that John was just asking about, I want to talk about the quarterback perspective of it and the throw Josh made. It seems that was a great play by two great players that got overshadowed by a great play by two other great players. Can you talk about what goes into that throw for Josh, especially after, he threw two picks earlier in the game?
Yeah.
Just how precise he has to be.
Yeah, I think, he saw the coverage, and Peterson was in there inside with inside leverage on Steph, and Steph did a good job. He just pressed it vertical and snapped it off, and Josh saw where the defender was, and he just flattened Diggs out a little bit. Diggs flattened with the ball and went down and made a good play, and there was a little bit of pressure for Josh. He stood in there, he put it right where he needed to put it, and again, it was a little bit of a different throw than it was in practice, where he put a little bit more arc on it. Again, we had a little different coverage in practice when we ran it, but a good job of just seeing the defender and trusting the receiver, and the receiver doing a really good job. Steph doing a good job of flattening it out, and Cole doing his part to go ahead and make that play by cutting underneath the defender that he was on to open up that spot for Steph.
I guess as a follow-up, how hard of a throw is that? I mean, that doesn't look like an average NFL quarterback throw.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good throw. It was a good throw with some pressure there in his face, and one we feel confident that he can make. And again, we had that interception right off the, got the ball at around the 50, and he threw that interception, and he came back down and made some really good plays in that last drive. Just came up a little short.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
All right, that's all for today. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.